Business is more than grinding to get it done. It's people, process, and payroll done right. It's protecting your team, leveraging every penny out of every dollar to build and grow. From HR to insurance, from strategy to scale. We give you the playbook so you don't have to figure it out the hard way. This is the PEO Playbook, hosted by Chad Philly with Staff Brokers Inc. Get valuable insights and learn to grow your team without HR headaches. Let's get started.
Good morning and welcome back to the PEO Playbook podcast. I am Chad Philly with Staff Brokers, here with Marty Gray, CEO of Staff Brokers. Again, we're going to get into all things PEO and some of the intricacies of how they help businesses manage the everyday headaches with payroll, work comp, and human resources. The joys of having employees. Today, we want to touch a little bit on PEOs and how they acquire their work comp coverage and how that benefits business owners in multiple states, and some of the benefits of having a PEO when you're trying to do multi-state business. So, Marty, you want to start it off? Anything in particular?
Well, it's good to be back on the PEO Playbook, and it's been a joy talking to some of the people that we've that have given us a call and interacting with them. We have multiple PEOs that we deal with, so there's many different types of ways of addressing the multi-state thing. Some of the PEOs, they have one carrier, so they can do business in just the states that they have their carrier in. And then we have other PEOs who have multiple carriers and tends to have a much larger footprint of how many states, or whether it's the entire country that they can deal with. That's actually one of the advantages that we bring to the table in determining what the client's needs are. But probably the best thing is that that we educate our clients on is the significant difference from state to state on work comp coverage. You might be in the same work comp code from one state to the other state, but the price range can change dramatically sometimes. Sometimes it's to our client's favor, depending upon what state their primary state is. They get a lower rate. They're very pleased by that. But other times it's higher, and we educate them on why that is. The other thing that is associated with the work comp coverage is deductibles associated with these carriers and how much discount they're able to offer. We get a decent number of clients who on occasion will choose one of these monopolistic states. They're a little bit more difficult to deal with. These are states that require you to use the state's mandated carrier, and they are definitely more pricey in those states.
You can talk a little bit about as far as buying power and how is it the PEOs are leveraging when it comes to work comp, and how's that beneficial to the clients?
So they're using the rule of large numbers. They're buying significantly more premium, and they're buying premium in a competitive manner that their core business model, which is management of claims, they take that over. So they have an in-house staff that is, communicating with the employee on day one of an injury, communicating with the medical facility on day one of an injury, making sure that those claims don't become something that is litigious, because that's where the expenses blow up on just about every claim. Determining whether it's a legitimate claim or not right from the beginning, and deciding that this is a faulty claim. That is, unfortunately, we have that in our society where, I can think of one good example where a forklift driver got injured getting on and off of the forklift, and upon immediately after the claim, the PEO and the client got together with cameras, because they have cameras in their facility, and they were able to determine that what the employee put down on paper saying happened did not match what happened on camera. So there's an example of where the PEO and our client got together and literally were okay, we're going to fight this claim immediately. And that's in the client's best interest.
Yeah, and something else, so touch on along these lines is when you do have those claims, and fortunately, sometimes those claims don't happen on camera.
Right.
They can happen on, Monday mornings, when somebody gets back from work that, they may have been injured on the weekend or something to that effect. That is, the PEO has the experience and the processes of managing claims, having an idea of what they're going to cost to close, but they're also very good at being an independent eye and looking at it without emotion. A lot of times there's a will from employers to want to fight when they know it's a fraudulent claim. And it does come up that it is not worth the time and effort or cost, more so to speak, the
More so,
cost. The
yeah.
cost of proving that you're right when an employee's injured, especially when it's somebody who is not going to work there any longer. A lot of times it's easier to just settle that claim if they have gone and got an attorney and make them go away. It's a very hard fight from that employers want to take just because they don't want to be taken advantage of. The PEO is very good at looking at it from a, hey, we're going to have a cost if we fight. It's going to be cheaper to just give this guy a couple bucks and make him go away. Ends up being a very beneficial thing from that point of view. I actually have a lawyer who's a business attorney too, and he gets into some of that stuff with some of his clients, and it's just like, you're just going to pay me you're just going to pay me just to pay me.
Yep.
And we're not going to, we're going to run up quite a bill just to prove that you were right, which really isn't what I want to do for you as my client type of thing.
Right.
But it's something that the PEO is very good at.
It's so sad that the legal world works the way we have it right now. Literally, attorneys do have consultation with clients and they are talking to them. They're like, you might be able to get $10,000 for your claim only because I'm going to start writing them letters. I'm going to let them know how long this is going to draw out. I'm going to let them know how much money they're going to have to put into this from their legal side to defend themselves. And when the departments look at it and they're like, "Oh, it's going to cost us $25,000 to defend ourselves. Maybe we will close this case for 10."
Mhm.
It's unfortunate, but that is the world that we're living in now. It is the commercialization of the attorneys, and how fast can I close a claim? It's how fast they get money in their pocket.
Mhm. So another thing on that, when it comes to the claims management side of things, and you do have a multi-state jurisdiction. If you're a Florida-based company, is where your headquarters are, but you have an injury that's out of state, you have an even bigger legal hurdles to deal with from a claims management point of view when you've got out of state exposure, because you may have different sets of rules and follow up, and not every rule, every state is the same as far as, when somebody gets hurt, how long do they have to be out before you have indemnity payments, or
Right.
basically paying them to be home while they're injured. That changes state to state. It's a huge issue from that point of view.
We've seen this with our, let's say, our boutique PEO, who is in one or two states, and they start to grow a little bit. They've got an attorney that they're used to dealing with, a process that they're used to dealing with, but as they grow into the bigger states, those expenses become greater for them because they are dealing with out of state law firms, as opposed to maybe our larger PEOs that we deal with that are in 48 states throughout the country. They've got the internal staff. They've got attorneys on staff that are licensed pretty much everywhere that they're fighting claims. It is one of those things where when they have, like, our biggest PEO has, quite a few attorneys on staff, and it's a savings to them to have that, as opposed to having to go to out of house firms for coverage.
Yep. And also something, on the claims management side, huge benefit to business owners from the PEO side. And I would say not all, but most PEOs are purchasing, when it comes to work comp, they're purchasing with some form of deductible on their own. And those numbers, I said, there are PEOs out there, or used to be, at least. I don't know. I haven't heard of any lately that are doing, essentially they have no deductible. with their insurance carriers. They probably don't write a lot of real risky business from a work comp injury point of view, but there's others that have, $250,000 on of every claim that they're responsible for, up to, a couple $1,000,000. And that's a huge benefit from a price point of view as far as what the PEO might be able to offer the client, but it's a huge incentive for proper claims management. They really want to get it closed as fast as possible. It's money coming out of their large deductible that they have on their plan, so they're essentially self-insuring for the beginning of it, for the first until the claim gets really out of hand, and that's something that really makes them put forth the appropriate effort to make sure that it does get closed out, or not closed out, but handled as efficiently as possible instead of dragging on and on. They have just as much skin in the game as anybody and wanting that employee to get back to work as fast as possible. It doesn't necessarily drag on as
Right.
much as it could normally.
One of those things that's just not known is in management of claims is reserves. Back injuries as a great example. Somebody strains their back. It's documented. I strained my back. I hurt my back. I went to the doctor. I'm not really complaining about it. I got fixed within the first few days of rest, and I'm back to work. But that type of claim has a reserve to it, which means it might open. Just because I got to the doctors and I got better doesn't mean that something might go wrong in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So what these insurance companies have to do or what the insurance companies do is they come in and they say, well, here's the medical side of the claim. Here's what we've actually paid, but we're going to set a certain amount of money aside for reserves, which then makes that claim considerably higher than what it truly is, but we had to set money aside for it. And, real profitability associated is getting those reserves closed, following back up with the client, making sure, or with the employee, making sure that they're good in good health, and literally closing claims that sometimes with some of these traditional insurance carriers, they can just stay on there forever, ever and ever. And you really have to have somebody who has a motivation to close those reserves. And that motivation does fall underneath PEO because they'd rather be their money rather than money sitting in their insurance carrier side.
Yep. So I'm on that because you said back injuries before we wrap up this episode. Definitely make note of back injuries for just a general thing for employers. If somebody has a slip and fall and a back injury and they say that they're fine and they don't want to go get treated, at least make notice of it so you know exactly what
Yeah.
day when it happens, so that if it turns out circles back and becomes problematic, you did have it on record that it did happen at work, and you're not stuck in is this a fraudulent claim type of thing. So
It's
good to report it and have it there on record.
policy and procedures. It's what PEO brings to the table, and it's the biggest mistake that the small business owner makes. A claim occurs. The guy's like, "Hey, I'm not really hurt, but I'm hurt." They fail to have that procedure of
Don't have the
writing down what it is that actually occurred, getting a statement from the employee as to what really occurred, documenting the time, asking or letting them know that you requested them to go to the doctors at that point. Those are the things that get you out of hot water later.
Mhm.
I actually documented what happened. This is the record that you're going to take to your insurance carrier. If it goes to the courts, this is the documents that you're taking to court, as opposed to, well, I think I remember talking to them about
Right.
going to see somebody at the time.
Mhm.
And it's a simple thing, but as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you're really thinking about what it is you do for a living. And as a plumber, the last thing you're thinking about is, how do I when my employee has an accident, and they do, right?
Yep, they do.
What is it I need to dot my I's and cross my T's with to make sure that one, they're taken care of? I mean, our PEOs really do genuinely have a heart for making sure our employees are taken care of. If they're actually hurt on the job, we want them to know that somebody cares. We want them to know that there's somebody out there looking for them to get to the right health provider and not just be, oh my gosh, what happens next?
Right.
So,
Indeed. All right. Well, that is that for this episode of the PEO Playbook Podcast. Appreciate you joining us, and hope we learned a little bit more about PEO today. Catch you on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the PEO Playbook, where we help business owners unlock the power of PEOs and take their team to the next level. This episode was proudly brought to you by Legacy Sales Engineering. If you're ready to simplify HR, scale your business, and put the right team behind you, visit staffbroker.net to get started with Staff Brokers today.